What's up, guys? I am super excited for this one. Today I'm bringing on Mike Martin, Big Mike from Central Georgia. He is absolutely crushing the game. In just under a year, he has closed 9 deals already and is still working his full-time job as a firefighter. So I wanted to bring him on because he is one of the most authentic and organic growth-minded people that I have come across on social media as an agent. And he is here to give some perspective as well as hope to people thinking about getting into real estate, or maybe people that are in real estate that are in a little bit of a rut as the markets have changed. This message is absolutely the truth, and I can't wait to bring him on. So let's get to it. Oh, here. All right. What's up, guys? As you know, we have Mike Martin, Big Mike Martin, as he's referred to across social media channels. I came across Mike recently on social media and just saw that he was absolutely killing it. Reached out, offered him some congratulations, and found out he had only been in the industry for about 8 months. We'll let him tell you a little bit about himself, but understand that he's been in the business for 8 months. He's about to close, his 8th and 9th, 10th transaction, and he's absolutely crushing it. And when I got to know him, I found that it was mostly organic. And I just wanted to bring him to our audience here on the Real Estate Agent Playbook. So Mike, thanks so much for joining me today. How you doing?
Hey man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm doing really great, man. This is awesome. Your channel's great. I've been following you for a while, and what you put out is the same thing that I've been implementing into my strategies. So
awesome. That's great. So bringing like-minded individuals together, sharing a little bit of secret sauce, maybe giving some people that are maybe struggling a little bit, right? It's often comparison is the thief of joy. But when you see somebody like Mike crushing it, coming from a town of 15,000 people, and getting into the industry and having immediate success, it's someone I definitely want to bring to you and put on the forefront to spread the wealth. So Mike, tell us a little bit about your trajectory, kind of your runway prior to getting into real estate, and why you think you've had so much success.
Yeah. So growing up in rural Georgia, I come from a small community, and I have spent the last 8 years in this community working in public safety, both as a firefighter and EMT. And that I think helped me more than anything. But really, I didn't even know I was going to get into real estate. That was never the plan. I didn't even have a plan. I didn't even know I was going to be an EMT. I had no idea what I was going to do.
Right.
But just sitting around one day, I was like, I got to do something better. I got to do something else to spend more time with my kids. I'm married. I've been married for, almost 7 years. Been with my wife for 13. We get met in high school. We've got 2 kids, and for the longest time, man, I was working 48-hour shifts, riding an ambulance, just trying to pay bills while she finished her college degree. I missed a lot of my son's childhood from the time he was born to probably 4 or 5. I mean, he's 5 now, so going on 4 years. And my daughter was born, and I was just tired. I was like, I got to find something else to do. And one of my friends was like, dude, you should really consider getting into real estate. You just have the personality. You can talk to anybody, anywhere. You go out in public, you always meet people, and you just connect on a personal level with every person you meet. Really consider it. So that was last year. And I was like, all right, well, let me just look and see. Come to find out, a guy that I've known, he was like a mentor to me growing up. His daughter and I were friends, and she actually introduced me to my wife. He was a career law enforcement military, but he got his real estate license. He started a school a few years ago. So I just reached out to him and was like, hey man, what do I got to do to join your school? What do I have to do? Pay me $450. He basically said, get your ass to class.
Right.
So I was supposed to start school last October. The day school started, I ended up in the emergency room with COVID. I couldn't get up out of the bed. When I stood up, I hit the floor, and I was just really weak, couldn't breathe. So I missed my first initial classes.
One thing he asked you to do.
Get your ass to school. I couldn't make it, and it was awful. I took that as a sign, like, hey, this isn't for me. I was like, I guess I'm not going to real estate school. And a couple months later, they called me and said, hey, we got you a spot in the next class. It starts in February. Do you still want to do this? And I was like, hell yeah, I do. Like, hold on. Like, I still have the opportunity. Yeah, I do. So February started, man, and I was working full time on an ambulance, and I would get off work and go straight to class and be sleeping through class. I don't know how I passed the test because I'd be half asleep sitting in the corner. But 7 weeks, 3 nights a week, I got my real estate license after the third try. So if you're an agent out there who's in class or you ain't passed that test, you just keep trying, man, because you're gonna get it. It took
Right.
me 3 times to get that test over with. Um, but before I even got my license, I had no clue what real estate was. Like I was like, man, go sell houses, whatever. I had to find where I was going to go, and my mother-in-law, she had bought some property, and she had a friend who was one of her friends who was also the broker of McElroy Realty, which is where I now work, my office here. And so I called her. I said, hey, can you just give me Heather's number? I just want to go talk to her and just get a feel for things. And the minute I met Heather, I knew that I wanted her to be my mentor. She was fantastic. To this day, she has become one of my best friends. I just knew right off the bat I'm going to work with her, and because she told me, she's like, you have what it takes to do this. You just have you just have to put the work in. And she told me right there a year ago, 10% of the people are going to make the money in real estate. That 10% is the ones who are going to put the work in. 90% of people don't put the work into this to make money. And I took that to heart. And I got my real estate license. I came to work, and here I am, man.
There you are.
That's kind of it.
Yeah,
I'm still a firefighter, still full time.
Okay.
I work full time on a fire engine and ambulance. So I work 24 hours, and on my 48 hours, I'm doing this.
Okay. Sounds good. Hopefully you're getting some of that time back with family. Lots of congruencies there. Obviously, I started as a teacher and, in corrections, and wasn't on the ambulance itself, but felt like I should be sometimes working in corrections for sure, and teaching at-risk kiddos. And so from that community service kind of aspect, bring it to the real estate game. You mentioned sleeping through some classes and things, and I will tell you, your classes are to pass the test. You'll learn a few things here and there, but you don't learn anything until you're on the job, right?
You don't learn anything, man.
And so I think that the biggest piece here is in the next kind of position is, obviously you found great mentors. Mentors have been extremely important to you. You've mentioned two of them already. So finding somebody to work with and come to, is absolutely clutch. But then it's, once you're done with the school, then it's all about, the marketing and the advertising and how you put yourself out there, and the work starts, right?
Yeah.
So you work to get past the test and do that, and then the work starts. You mentioned, earlier, or before, maybe in our conversation yesterday, that it's completely organic, right? And this is
100%.
kind of music to my ears as far as that goes. Not a lot of paid advertising. Sure, I've dabbled a little bit. However, doing something completely organic in 8 months time and become, there's not an agent that gets into the business that wouldn't want to have 8 to 10 deals under their belt in their first year in the business. And you've done it under a year. And so talk a little bit about your organic strategies, why you chose it, and kind of what you do in order to connect, right?
For sure. So, whenever I was in school, they were talking about, let's Zillow leads, Realtor.com leads. And to me, I researched it. I'm a researcher. Before I spend my hard-earned money, I'm going to look into what this is going to entail. And to me, chasing a lead if it works for your business, great. But for me, that's not how I have ever ran my life. To me, it's nurturing a relationship that's going to last me my career. If instead of spending $500 a month trying to go chase down somebody who might want to go look at a house 2 hours from me, or they might want to sell their house, 45, 30 miles up the street, I took it and I said, no, I live in a small community. There's 3 counties that we are all in, and everybody in these 3 counties really knows each other. And it's Lamar, Pike, and Upson County. I grew up on the border of Lamar and Upson, and I spent my entire childhood with people who we went to church together. We all played ball together, and that's what my community's about. It's not about paying for leads or anything. It's about who you know and whose mama do you know, whose daddy do you know, And that's why I decided to focus, instead of paying for advertising, or I pay for advertising, but paying for leads. I focused on nurturing my relationships with people that I've already built them with. I mean, I spent 8 years working in my community as a public servant. You know, I served my community, riding an ambulance and fighting fire. And there's people who I have changed their lives that still live in this community, and they remember that. But now I have another opportunity to change their life, and that's what I'm focusing on. I volunteer in my community. I'm there. I'm at church. I'm on the Kiwanis Club. I put together events. I just did a charity golf tournament. I've never played golf in my life. I did a charity golf tournament, raise money for the volunteer firemen.
Yeah.
You know, 84 people played in the tournament. I got to be in the forefront of it and be out there and about. But the organic growth and relationships that I'm building, to me, that's the only way I can grow my business. You know, is being in front of people, letting people know who I am and who I am as a person. You know, because that's they're gonna know who Big Mike is. They're gonna know Big Mike's that guy that you can call any time of day to do anything. And they're gonna tell their children, their children's children, and their grandmother and their grandmother, and whoever they can tell about me. I want to be that person they think of when they need to sell their house, or they want to buy a new house, or their kids are just graduated high school and they're getting married and they want to start a family and they're looking for their first house, that they're barely pinching pennies to get into a house. I want to be the guy that can help them do that.
Absolutely.
And not just help, you know, somebody who's trying to sell their house 3-4 hours away. I'm just not about it.
Right.
I'm
Clicking on a face, you know, to sell a house and never having that relationship again. I know through my experience, I'm sure yours, through that sentiment, you know, the transactions just are easier.
Yeah.
Right? When people know exactly what they're getting, they know that you're the expert in the industry. They know that you put in, you know, you care about them. You would never put them in harm's way, you know, intentionally. And that's absolutely, you know, key to building that trust. One of my good buddies, and he's a coach of one of my mentors, is George Bryant. And he talks about relationships beat algorithms all the time, right? Yeah. And so that's all it is. It's just continuing to build those relationships up, and one deal can actually turn into 7. It's not just a pipe dream. Yes. You're showing up at a Zillow call. They're, you know, it's the 10th person that's tagged the cheapest house in your area. They want to go look at it, trailer, whatever it might be, and you're just showing up and hoping that one day that person becomes a buyer. And, you know, your relationship is built on a click versus your relationship built on a lifetime. And I think that that's absolutely huge. And as our industry changes and buyer commissions change and all the things that are coming, you know, to have the know, like, and trust factor already built in will absolutely, you know, take you big places. 100%. So, I mean, you know, as far as organic, obviously your relationships and things like that. However, you know, how you leverage social media is different. So tell me a little bit about what youof doing, you know, on Facebook, and kind of how you approach the social media platforms as a result.
Of course. So I kind of have a little bit of background in social media. I actually left the fire service a little over a year ago and went to work for a guy who ran events, and he did local professional wrestling. He did concerts, all kind of crazy stuff. This guy was wild. He taught me a lot about business and marketing and branding and things like that. And I learned a lot working with him. But I leverage social media by also leveraging my sphere of influence that I have on social media. Facebook for me works. It's where a lot of my leads come from, is Facebook. Instagram to me works. I mean, it's okay. I'm not huge on Instagram. But I leverage my Facebook. I leverage the same thing I post on Facebook, I'm going to post on Instagram, of course. I post on TikTok because it's trending. I do a lot of like home tours on TikTok, things like that. But also one thing that I don't think a lot of people think about a lot, but for me, and it's just, it may not work for everybody, but for me, I leverage Snapchat. There's an entire generation of kids that are, you know, 15 to 25, that's the only way they communicate with each other. And if you can get on Snapchat and post a story, like just sitting in my office right here, I could take a selfie, or a little video and say, hey guys, I'm in the office right now getting ready to work up some deals. If you're interested in buying, or you know anybody, or your mama's knowing anybody, just let me know. I'm here. I could do something funny, whatever. Post it on my story, my public profile story. Anybody looking at stories in Zebulon, Georgia, they're gonna see that story and know Big Mike's out here. He's in real estate. And there's kids in high school who know who I am, and in 5 years, when they're ready to buy, they're gonna remember that funny big guy from Snapchat who posted all the funny stuff, and he was real. He let them see the behind the scenes of what he really does and what his life is. I post my kids, and when I'm out fishing or I'm out hunting, or going to whatever I'm going to do. I mean, I'll be at the fire station, and I'll just be walking around the fire station, fire engine in the back, ambulance in the back, just talking, whatever. You have to leverage different ways and think outside of the box. When I first got into it, I really was just putting generic posts out. Hey, here's what's earnest money, what's this, but so many people were doing that. It wasn't until I sat back and really let my personality come out. I started making different graphics, like one of the ones I put together was interest rates are temporary, but Wu-Tang is forever. And a lot of people thought that was funny. I'm running with one right now that's on a bunch of my digital billboards. It's don't get a divorce, let's get you a bigger house. And I did some Star Wars themed ones because I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
Just different things like that to really let people see my personality. And then, like I said, I left my sphere. My people who are going to support me no matter what, they will like, share, comment, tag their friends, whatever, in my post. They'll share the video tours, the open houses that I'm doing, things like that. And they really, I wouldn't be where I'm at in real estate if it wasn't for my sphere of influence, my mentor, and my wife. Like, that's literally, if it wasn't for those three, I wouldn't be anyway. I'm great. I'm a funny guy. I've got a huge personality. But if it wasn't for those three people, or my sphere, my mentor, and my wife, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I have no clue what I was doing. My wife tells me every day that I'm doing great. Keep doing what you're doing, baby. You're killing it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for that, because there's times, man, where I'd go home and just feel defeated. But yeah, man, Facebook for me is great, but you just got to think outside of the box. There's so many good realtors that are on TikTok and Instagram, and just reels are the way to go. Video is the future, and it's the now. If you're not doing video, what are you doing?
Right. And getting out there and just gives you that connection right away, right? Video's absolutely king.
People can't see your personality. They don't know who you are if you're not doing a video. People, if people, they don't even have to know Mike. They don't have to know who I am, but if they see me every day on a video, they feel like they know me. Like, yeah, I know Big Mike. Yeah, I can trust that guy. That's my boy. That's my boy. He's a firefighter. He's funny as crap, man. He's got everything going on, man. And that's what you want.
Kids and family, sports, and
he's just
firefighter.
Like me.
Yep, all the
he's
things.
Just like me, except he'll sell you a house.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. And I think what it really comes down to is the fact that people know exactly where that commission's going to go, right? Can scroll through your Instagram and see your little boy catching a fish and seeing that relationship, and that means more to me than just the person that's posting earnest money's this and that kind of stuff. And I think that personal touch is what people struggle with, because the first thing that realtors ask me, hey, you do pretty well on social media, what should I post? Well, it's not about posting the real estate stuff. Sure, know your market, know all of that stuff. I do a ton of that on my production side. But knowing that I have 3 daughters and a wife, and I'm a native to Colorado, and I love sports, I love the Broncos, I love all the things. I coached high school basketball for 10 years. All of those pieces are able to be put in place for my sphere and my community, and it's relational. Right. Yeah. So that makes it happen. I feel like every person that comes to me through social media and sees my videos specifically already knows what they're going to get. Right. It may not be, 10,000 views. Right. However, every time I'm at a client's house or a new client's house is like, hey, I was watching this video on the market, and they automatically know that I'm the authority when it comes to understanding the market, how to price their home, what offers to make and so on. So it's absolutely massive. And I love, that you mentioned Snapchat, because that's something that I definitely don't do. But it is another leverage point for your people and shows what you're doing. Also, working another job, you're able to put information. I mean, I'm sure you cross contaminate, right? If you're sitting at the firehouse, you might say something about a real estate, a house or, whatever. And so people automatically have the fire station, the firemen, and then identify with the real estate. So it's not like when you're at the fire station, certainly when you're in front of a patient or an emergency, you're taking care of that. But there's a lot of downtime as a fireman, and you take the opportunity to also work on your real estate while you're there. The very worst job you can get as an agent, in my opinion, is something that it's 9 to 5. You have no, flexibility, and you cannot leverage a real estate business into that business. So that's super powerful. So cool.
I've built my niche kind of around, because my public safety family, 95% of my deals I've closed this year and the ones I'm working on have come from people that I've either worked with, trained with, lived with, or referrals from those people. I think maybe 2 of the deals that I've been working on are people that were outside of my public safety family.
Yep.
My very first deal, the night I got my license, I posted on Facebook and said, "Hey guys, I just started working with McElroy Realty. If you're interested, you know anybody, I'd love to help you out." And that night I got a DM at like 1 a.m. I was up all night because I was excited. I got my real estate license. I've been checking Facebook. People were liking it. Congratulations, whatever. I got a message from a friend of mine who I hadn't talked to in years. He was only at the fire department for 6 months, maybe. Realized it wasn't for him, but he was a trainee, and he rode with me and my partner and lived at the station with us. He said, "Man, me and my wife, I've got this job. I'm making good money. We want to buy a house. We've got, so many kids, and we've been working with somebody, but we just didn't click." And I was like, "Well, first I need to know if you got a contract with us." He said, "No, I've never had a contract." I was like, "Cool. What you want to look at?"
There you go.
Get you pre-approved.
Right.
Literally a month later, we were under contract and closed on their house.
Right.
I was like, "Man, this is easy." I was wrong. I was so wrong on it. It was the next 3 or 4 months was tough, man. I remember going in my broker's office and I sat down and I said, "Heather, I don't think I'm cut out for this. Like, what's wrong? I got one deal, but I feel like I've shown one person 30 houses and then they decided not to buy anything." And she was like,
"It's not a very good hourly wage there."
No, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, and it's going to pay off. And whenever I quit acting like I needed a client and just did what I would do what I do, that's when they started falling in line, and I got one after another, after another, after another. I did cold call an expired listing, and I closed on it this Friday. So
okay, there you go. You got to try it all, right?
I was trying everything I could do to get clients, and then one of my sellers who we've sold their house, we're about to buy another one. That was somebody I went to EMT school with, 9 years ago. And I got a call the other day. This is a crazy story. "Hey man, my mom has my house listed, but she sucks. We're going to terminate with her and let you list our house." What?
How'd that go?
They terminated with her, and I got their house listed, so we're doing pretty good.
Now you got to sell it. Let's see. See how long they call and say, "Hey, Big Mike sucks." Just kidding.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So as we kind of round out here, love those stories, and you can see the authenticity shining through. I would imagine in that 3 to 4 month period, that's when you were like, "Screw it, I'm going to become authentic," and that's when things really took off. Just knowing the trajectory of your business there. So I guess, if you had one thing to tell an agent that's either considering getting into real estate or maybe struggling to get that first transaction, I think I know what you're going to say, but what would you say to, just encourage them to continue?
Well, if you're thinking of getting into real estate, you need to have a self-evaluation of yourself. Like, are you getting into it because you're going to be part-time, you're maybe a contractor, flipping houses, whatever, that's great. But if you're getting into this and you want this to be your full-time job, then you need to understand that this is a 110% thing. you've got to understand that you have to put in the work. This is legwork. I mean, door to door, knock on doors. Your face has to be out there. People have to know you're a real estate agent. You can't just sit back and post on Facebook every 3 to 4 weeks like some people do and expect your phone to ring. It's not going to happen. You might get, your cousin's mom call you and go, hey, I know you sell houses once a year, but you're going to also get those people who go, man, I forgot you were an agent. I'll tell you, that'll never happen to me. It'll never happen to me. You've got to be out there every day letting people know what you do and why they should choose you. And if you're struggling, if you're out here trying and you just don't understand what to do, what am I doing wrong? Look, just be yourself. Keep putting in the work every day. Be yourself and be consistent. I think there's 3 things that really I would tell somebody who wants to be consistently good in this field. Like, 1, build your brand. You have to have a brand. Build that brand and live it every day. 2, literally just be consistent. Posting, living, being in front of people, volunteer your time, be around, and just be consistent with everything you do. And 3, find you a mentor. Get you somebody who is doing what you want to do and ask them, will you be my mentor? Because I'm telling you, man, find you a Heather McClendon, because there's nobody else that is freaking going to take care of you like your mentor will. Just going to answer the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning when you got a question because your contract's about to fall through and you're closing tomorrow.
Right.
You got to get you a mentor. But put the work in, man.
Yep.
This isn't easy money. It's not.
No.
But it's worth it.
Yeah.
It is worth it every single day.
And I think that's extremely powerful. The power of self-evaluation and being brutally honest with yourself, the work you're putting in. Having agents, that I mentor and so on, I can absolutely tell you, right, who's dialed in, who's doing the work and who's not. I don't have to see them show up to calls. I don't have to see them do that stuff. It's because typically it's outreach, right? It's staying in momentum. Jeremy, what can I do next? Jeremy, what do you think about this idea, right? Because if you just are sitting back waiting for somebody at your kid's school to raise their hand and say, I need a real estate agent, is there anyone around here? Because they don't know that you're that agent. That's not a sustainable business practice. And so, and
also, you gotta know your market.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't know what's going on in your own market and somebody calls you and asks you, like, hey, what about this house? And you're like, man, I ain't looked on, my MLS in 2 weeks. I don't really know. Let me go find out. They're going to hang up and go, that person who does not know anything about this job. You have to be an expert in your market, in your territory, and the business. You have to know it front and back. Or at least act like you do.
Education. I mean, that's huge. Industry partners. I have great partnerships with lenders and title people and
100%,
attorneys,
man.
whoever.
Take your lender out to lunch. Take your attorney out. Well, me and my lender, we go eat Chinese buffet every 2 weeks.
There you go. You got to know, and hopefully that lender knows the market and they can speak to interest rates and some of that stuff and speak into you, so you have that education.
All networking.
Yeah, that's awesome, Mike. And I appreciate your time today. And thanks so much for coming on. Where can people kind of connect with you and follow you if they need kind of a guiding light of sunshine as you are?
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. So my Linktree account is linktree.com/Big Mike Sales. You can find me anywhere. Just type in Big Mike Sales, whatever. Find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Snapchat. You can follow me there. Hit me up if you have any questions, whatever, man. If you're looking to buy or sell a house, I service the Middle Georgia area. If you're in Pike County, Lamar, and Upston, you know where to find me.
Absolutely. Yeah, for agents looking, to connect with a referral agent in rural county Georgia, middle of Georgia, Big Mike's your answer. I'd start there, and he'll tell you the truth if he serves or not, and if not, I bet he probably knows a few people in the surrounding counties to connect you with. Sure. So thanks so much for your time, Mike, and I look forward to following along on Facebook and staying connected and being a resource to each other, man. Appreciate it.
Sure, man. I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye. Wow, guys, absolutely amazing. As you just watched Big Mike and saw all of his heart and his true authentic self, and he talks about things that every one of us can absolutely implement in our business right now. So make sure you go give him a follow. He does great things on social media as part of his organic strategy. But also, if you're interested in partnering with me, this is exactly what I do for agents, is help them build this. I just met Mike, but he was just a perfect example of what I know can absolutely work in the real estate business. So definitely book a call with me. If you're not down for partnering, I have a realtor game plan call that you can absolutely look into. I would be happy to, sit down with you and dive deep into your business. So thanks again to Big Mike for coming on the show, and make sure you follow him. Please like, comment, subscribe, as well as follow us on the podcast. We'll talk to you soon.